My name is Julia Hartman, and I didn't plan to go viral the week I turned 29. I planned to sleep on a childhood mattress in a room I paid for, eat my mom's oversalted green bean casserole, and pretend my family knew how to love me without charging interest. Instead, I stood in my own hallway staring at a closet full of someone else's designer handbags, while my sister-in-law, pregnant, smug, and wearing my robe like it belonged to her, pointed at the front door and said, "You can get a hotel, Julia. This is our newlywed house." I remember the exact sound my phone made when I hit record. A soft click, like a lock turning, like a line being crossed. And I remember my brother's voice behind her, lazy, certain, the voice of a man who's never been told no. "Don't start," he said. "Just apologize to Claire and we'll talk." That was the peak moment. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where this really began. On an Amtrak train rattling west, with my suitcase wedged under my knees, and my thumb doom-scrolling my way into a warning I should have taken seriously. I live in Chicago now. Not in a glamorous skyline penthouse, more like a third-floor walk-up in Logan Square, with radiators that clank, and a neighbor who plays the same 3 chords on guitar every night at 1 a.m. But it's mine. I earned it. I moved here right after college, got my foot in the door at a construction project management firm, and climbed by being the kind of woman who never missed a deadline and never asked for help. My hometown is a small place outside Fort Wayne, Indiana, the kind of town where everyone knows what everyone's driveway looks like, where churches still post bake sale flyers on corkboards, where family values is a bumper sticker and also a weapon. I go back once a year. That's what I tell people anyway. The truth is, I go back once a year because that's all I can survive. 2 hours into the ride, somewhere between gray cornfields and a frozen river, a "suggested for you" post popped up on my phone. A woman's selfie, mascara a little smeared, caption screaming in all caps. "Am I the only one who thinks it's disgusting when a grown woman moves back in with her brother and his wife?" The comments were worse than the post. "Loser behavior. Freeloading at 30 is insane. She's jealous of the wife. Change the locks. She'll learn." I stared at the screen and felt a tight little spike of anger. The kind that doesn't burn hot. It burns familiar. Because I was that grown woman in somebody else's story, even though I hadn't lived in my parents' house since I was 18. And because I knew exactly what people like my sister-in-law Claire did with that kind of narrative. They don't say your name. They don't need to. They just describe you in a way that makes strangers feel righteous about hating you. I wanted to scroll past. I wanted to tell myself it wasn't about me. But my stomach didn't buy it. So I clicked the profile. There were photos of a pregnancy bump in front of my parents' kitchen wallpaper. Yes, the exact wallpaper my mom refused to change because, "It's fine, Julia, stop being picky." There was a "Welcome to our forever home" video, filmed in a living room I recognized down to the lamp. And there, in the comments under a post titled, "Boundaries are self-care," was my mom's account. Linda Hartman, hearting it. My mom, hearting a post about changing the locks on your husband's sister. I put my phone down and stared at the plastic tray of microwaved pasta the cafe car sold as lasagna. Then I told myself, "Julia, stop being paranoid." Because paranoia is how people like my family keep you obedient. They make you question your own instincts until you feel guilty for noticing reality. So I booked the train anyway. I told my boss I was taking a few days of PTO. I packed gifts like a dutiful daughter. A scarf for my mom, a coffee sampler for my dad, a baby onesie for Claire, even though buying it felt like paying tribute. And I told myself the same lie I always told myself before I went home. I still have a place there. Because I do. Or I did. 3 years earlier, I bought a house in my hometown. Not because I wanted to move back. Because my dad called me one night with a voice I didn't recognize. My father, Rick Hartman, does not cry. He's a stoic Midwestern man who thinks emotions are something you fix with a lawnmower and silence. That night his voice cracked. "Jules," he said, childhood nickname, only used when he wants something. "We're in trouble." It started as, "The roof needs repairs." Then it became, "Your mom's car is dying." Then it became, "Your brother's got a great opportunity, but he needs a little push." My brother's name is Matt. He's 2 years older than me, and he's been the son in our family since the day he was born. Matt was gifted. Matt was sensitive. Matt needed support. I was strong. I was capable. I was independent. In my family, those words didn't mean admiration. They meant, Julia will handle it. I remember being 13, standing in the kitchen holding a permission slip for a school trip to Washington, D.C. The cost was $200. Fundraising available. Scholarship possible. My mom skimmed it, sighed dramatically and said, "Julia, honey, we can't do everything. Matt needs new cleats." I remember being 16, asking if I could have a used car for senior year. My dad laughed like I'd asked for a yacht. "You can take the bus," he said. "Matt has practice." I remember being 19, in college, calling home to say my textbook cost $300. My mom's voice went crisp. "Is it required?" I said yes. She said, "Well, you always figure it out." Then 2 days later, she posted a Facebook photo of Matt with a brand new gaming system and captioned it, "Spoiling my boy. He works so hard." He worked so hard at what? Breathing? So when my parents told me they were going to lose the house they rented because the landlord was selling, I did what I always did. I solved. I had savings. Not a fortune, but enough. I had a credit score that made banks say yes. I had a steady income. And I had that rare, terrifying combination of competence and guilt. So I bought a modest 3-bedroom house on the edge of town. Brick, dated cabinets, a big backyard with a maple tree that dropped leaves like confetti in October. I put it in my name. I paid the down payment and closing costs. I took out the mortgage. I did it with the explicit agreement that my parents would live there, pay what they could toward the monthly payment, and I would cover the rest. It was supposed to be temporary. Everything in my family is temporary until it becomes permanent. 2 months after I closed, Matt moved in, just for a while. Then Claire entered the picture, a woman with glossy hair and a smile that never reached her eyes. Claire was the kind of person who took up space like she was doing you a favor. At first, she was sweet to me. Too sweet. The kind of sweet that makes you suspicious. "Oh my God, Julia," she'd say, squeezing my arm with manicured nails. "You're such a boss babe. I wish I had your drive." Then she'd follow it with a soft little dagger. "I mean, you don't have kids, so it's easier, right?" Or, "It must be lonely in Chicago. Like, what do you even do on weekends?" I let it slide. I always let things slide until I'm bruised and pretending I just bumped into a table. Last year, when I came home for the holidays, I learned the new rules of the house. Rule 1. My presence was an inconvenience. Rule 2. Everything I paid for was now family property. I opened the fridge and grabbed a yogurt because I'd been on the train for 7 hours and I was hungry. Claire watched me like I'd stolen jewelry. "Wow," she said. "You're really comfortable." "It's yogurt," I replied, laughing because what else do you do? She laughed too. "I just mean, in the city you probably spend money like it grows on trees. Here we're careful." I stared at her. "Claire, I literally pay the mortgage." My mom cleared her throat. Julia, don't make it about money. My dad's voice cut in from his recliner.
Don't be petty.
And Matt, my brother, grinned at his phone and said, It's not a big deal. You're home. Relax. Relax. It's amazing how relax is always said to the person being squeezed. I didn't argue. I swallowed it like I always did. I told myself, it's one visit, don't ruin it. That's the thing about being the strong daughter. You don't get credit for your strength. You get punished for your boundaries. So on this year's train ride, when I saw those comments calling women like me disgusting, I tried to breathe through the old ache. I tried to focus on the reason I was going home. My mom had insisted we do a family dinner to celebrate Claire's pregnancy. A little get-together, she said, nothing big. In my mother's language, nothing big meant, come get emotionally mugged in front of relatives. Still, I went, because some part of me still wanted to belong. The train pulled into Fort Wayne in the early afternoon. Gray sky, wind that smelled like cold pavement. The station wasn't crowded, just a few people with backpacks and that hollow, Midwestern patience on their faces. I expected my dad's truck to be there. It wasn't. I dragged my suitcase to the curb and checked my phone. A text from Mom. Got you a hotel room. Don't come to the house yet, okay? We're in the middle of stuff. No explanation. Just that. I stared at the message until my eyes watered, not from sadness, more from the sheer predictability. Of course. Even my arrival needed to be managed like a disruption.
I typed back. Why?
She replied, It's better this way. Claire needs rest. You understand. I almost laughed. Claire needed rest from what? Being pregnant in a house she didn't buy? I called my dad, straight to voicemail. I called Matt. He answered with background noise, shopping cart wheels, loud holiday music. Hey, he said. What's up? I'm at the station, I said. Oh. A pause. We're at Meijer, getting stuff for dinner. No one's picking me up? Another pause, like the concept was new. We thought you were staying at the hotel. Mom just told me to, I said. 10 seconds ago. Matt exhaled. Jules, don't make it a thing. Just Uber. We're busy. Busy. I looked around at the parking lot and felt that old, familiar thing. Being an afterthought so consistent, it starts to feel like the definition of you. I could have gone to the hotel like they wanted. I could have obediently waited for permission to enter the house I paid for. But the post I'd seen on the train kept flashing in my mind. Change the locks. She'll learn. So I did something I'd never done before. I chose myself. I ordered a rideshare. As we drove through town, I watched the familiar streets blur. My old high school, the diner where my friends used to split fries, the strip mall that still had the same faded sign. The kind of town that pretends it never changes, while quietly deciding who matters and who doesn't. Then we turned into my neighborhood. My neighborhood. The house sat at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac. Christmas lights still draped on the gutters, even though it was late January. A plastic reindeer leaned crooked in the yard, like it had given up. I paid the driver, dragged my suitcase up the walkway, and reached for the door. Fingerprint lock. I'd installed it myself. Modern, safe, convenient. I pressed my thumb. Red light. Try again. Red. I entered the old code. Incorrect. My stomach dropped. Not because I was surprised, but because the last little part of me that hoped I was wrong still existed. I texted my mom. The lock isn't working. She called immediately, voice too bright. Oh, Claire changed it for safety. For safety? I repeated.
From me?
Julia, she snapped.
And there it was, the tone she uses when I'm being difficult by existing.
Don't start.
What's the new code? A pause, a tiny one, but I heard it, the lie forming.
It's Matt's birthday, she said.
Of course it was.
Not my birthday, not the mortgage number, not anything connected to me. Matt's birthday. I typed it in. The door unlocked, and the first thing I noticed when I stepped inside was the absence of me. It's hard to explain, but if you've ever walked into a space that used to hold your name, your shoes by the door, your mug in the cabinet, your hoodie draped on a chair, you know what it feels like when someone erases you. My slippers were gone. My coat hook was empty. The family photo wall had been rearranged so that pictures of Matt and Claire were front and center. Their engagement shoot in a gold frame, like a shrine. I found my shoes, my old running shoes I kept there for walks, stuffed into the back of a hall closet, under a box labeled baby shower. Dust coated them like time had passed without me. I wheeled my suitcase down the hall, heart thumping, and opened the door to my room. Or what had been my room. The small bedroom at the end of the hall, the one I painted a soft gray, the one where I kept my spare clothes and my childhood yearbooks, the one I'd set up so that no matter how long I stayed away, I'd have a place to land. It was gone. In its place was a walk-in closet fantasy, a floor-to-ceiling wardrobe system, rows of dresses still in plastic, shelves lined with heels, a vanity with bright bulbs, perfume bottles arranged like art. My books? Gone. My framed diploma? Gone. My old photo album with Polaroids from college? Gone. I stood there with my suitcase handle in my fist, so tight my knuckles ached. I turned in a slow circle, like if I looked hard enough, I'd find the corner where they'd shoved my life. Nothing. Not even the bed. They'd removed the entire bed frame. That was when I heard the front door open. Voices, laughter, the sound of bags being dropped. Then Claire's heels clicked down the hall like she owned the sound. She stopped in the doorway and stared at me like I was a raccoon that had gotten into her pantry. "What are you doing?" she demanded. I blinked. "I'm home." She scoffed. "No, you're not."
This is our house. My pulse surged, but my voice stayed steady.
"The deed is in my name."
Her eyes flashed.
"My husband's family gave us this room." "Your husband's family didn't buy the house," I said. She stepped closer, belly forward like a shield. "You're not going to come in here and stress me out. I'm pregnant. I don't need your drama." "Then don't create it," I said. She pointed down the hall. "Go to your hotel. Matt told me you'd be in a hotel." I laughed once, sharp, bitter. "Matt doesn't get to tell you where I sleep in a house I own." Her face tightened. "God, you're so not feminine. Always acting like a man with money." There it was. The insult dressed as a value. My mom's favorite kind. I pulled my phone out and hit record. I didn't shove it in her face. I just angled it slightly, capturing the room. The closet. The evidence. Claire noticed anyway. Her eyes widened. "Are you filming me?" "I'm documenting my property," I replied. She lunged like she might grab the phone, then caught herself. Pregnant women like Claire know how to perform fragility and aggression at the same time. "You're insane," she hissed. "You're a grown woman with no husband, no kids, and you think a house makes you important?" I looked at her belly, then back at her face. A house doesn't make me important, I said. It makes me the owner. Her lips curled. You don't own anything. Your family owns you. That's why you pay for all of us. My stomach went cold. Then she said the line that made something in me separate from my body, like I was suddenly watching from above. This is our honeymoon house, she announced. Matt promised. So if you cause a scene, you're the one ruining the baby's first year. I stared at her. Because she said, Matt promised. Like Matt could promise away something that wasn't his. Because she said, baby's first year. Like my life was already being assigned a background role in their story. I opened my mouth to respond. And then the garage door rumbled. My parents were home. And Matt. Footsteps, voices, the clink of grocery bags, the smell of cheap rotisserie chicken drifting down the hall. Claire turned toward the noise and instantly changed her face. Her voice softened, her shoulders dropped. She became the delicate, pregnant wife with a cruel sister-in-law trespassing on her peace. Linda, she called. Rick, Matt, she's here. Like I was an intruder. My mom appeared first, cheeks flushed from the cold. She saw me, and her eyes did that thing, flick away, like looking at me too directly might invite accountability. Julia, she said, exhausted already. Why didn't you go to the hotel? I held up my phone slightly. Why did you change my lock? My dad came next, carrying a bag of potatoes like it was a weapon. What the hell is going on? Matt followed, smiling like he'd walked into a sitcom. Oh my God, Jules. Seriously? Claire pressed a hand to her belly and made a small noise. Not a cry, a sound designed to alarm. She's yelling at me, Claire said, voice trembling. In my condition. I hadn't raised my voice once, but in my family, volume doesn't matter. Narrative does. My mom rushed to Claire immediately. Of course she did. She put a hand on Claire's back and glared at me. Julia, she snapped. Apologize. Right now. I let out a sound that wasn't quite a laugh. For what? For stressing her out, my mom said. She's pregnant. Do you want something to happen to the baby? There it was, the emotional hostage. My dad's face hardened. You show up and start a fight the minute you walk in. I walked in and found my room erased, I said. Matt waved a hand. It was just sitting there unused. Claire has a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff, I repeated. So she took my room? Matt shrugged. It's not that deep. My dad pointed at me. You've always been dramatic. I looked at the four of them, my parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, standing in a line like a courtroom that had already decided the verdict. And something in me that had been holding for years finally gave. Not in a screaming way, in a quiet, clean way. I said, the deed is in my name. The down payment came from my account. The mortgage is paid from my account. That room is mine. Claire snorted. Your parents gave me permission. My mom lifted her chin. We did. It made sense. My breath caught. You gave away my room. My dad barked. Don't talk like that. We're family. Matt stepped closer, voice dropping into that big brother tone he uses when he wants to sound reasonable while being cruel. Julia, you're single. You're hardly even here. Claire's pregnant. She needs space. Just apologize and go to the hotel. I stared at him. I thought about the time I covered his car payment when he was between jobs. The time I wired money for his engagement ring because it's once in a lifetime. The time I paid for the catered rehearsal dinner because my mom cried and said, "We can't embarrass the family." I thought about all the transfers labeled rent help, just this month, emergency. Then I said slowly, "No." My mom blinked like she hadn't heard me correctly. "No?" "No," I repeated. "I'm not apologizing. And I'm not going to a hotel because my sister-in-law decided I don't deserve a bed in my own house." Claire's eyes sharpened. "See? She's being aggressive." My dad's voice rose. "Julia, you're acting like a spoiled brat." Something in my chest broke open. "Me?" I said, and my laugh turned into a sound that almost hurt. "I wore hand-me-downs while Matt got new cleats every season. I was told my college books were too expensive while you paid for his frat dues. I moved away and sent you money every month. I bought this house so you wouldn't be homeless. And you changed the locks on me." Silence. Not because they were shocked. Because I'd said the truth out loud. My mom's face tightened. "That's not fair." "Fair?" My voice finally cracked. "I just wanted one room. One place to come home and not feel like a guest." Claire made another small sound, clutching her belly like my words had fists. Matt rolled his eyes. "You're making it about you." Classic. My dad stepped forward, towering, his voice deep with authority he never earned from me. "Enough. You are not going to disrespect this family in this house." In this house. The house in my name. I looked at him and felt something in my stomach settle. A decision. Because if my family could look me in the eye in a house I bought and tell me it wasn't mine, then they would never stop. They would always take, always justify, always call it family. And I would always be the one paying for a love I didn't receive. So I did something that changed the air in the hallway. I pulled out my phone, still recording, and I called my realtor. Not a cute, "I'll do it someday" call, a right now call. My realtor's name is Denise. She's a no-nonsense woman who sold me the house and mailed me Christmas cards with, "You're doing great," scribbled on them in messy handwriting. She answered on the second ring. "Julia, hey, you in town?" "I need to list the house," I said. "Immediately. I want it on the market this week." There was a pause. "Everything okay?" I looked at my family while I spoke. "No," I said, "but I will be." Denise's voice sharpened. "Okay, we can do that. I can swing by tomorrow for photos and paperwork." "Do it," I said. Then I hung up. It took about 3 seconds for them to understand what I'd just done. My mom's face drained. "Julia, what did you just do?" Claire's mouth fell open. "You can't sell this house." My dad's voice went hoarse. "You wouldn't." Matt stepped forward, anger flashing. "Are you seriously threatening us?" I met his eyes. "I'm not threatening," I said. "I'm deciding." My mom's voice started pleading. "Julia, honey, don't be dramatic. You're upset. We can talk about it." "You didn't talk about it when you changed my lock," I replied. Matt laughed sharply. "You're going to make your own parents homeless because Claire used your spare room?" I lifted my phone a little higher. "I have video of what you just said," I told him. "And I have proof of every payment I've made." My dad jabbed a finger at me. "You think paperwork makes you righteous?" "No," I said. "Paperwork makes me protected." Matt's jaw clenched. "You're not selling. We live here."
I own it, I said, calm in a way that scared even me.
And if you keep yelling, I will call the police for trespassing and illegal lock change.
My mom gasped like I'd threatened arson.
Julia, don't you dare bring cops into this.
Claire's eyes flicked, calculating. Then she folded forward slightly and pressed her hand to her stomach. "Oh," she whispered. "Oh my God. My mom rushed to her. "Claire?" Claire's breathing turned dramatic. "My stomach. Linda, I think I'm cramping." There it was, the ultimate shield, the baby. Matt's face twisted with panic. "Julia, stop. Look what you're doing." I watched Claire, how her eyes stayed sharp even while her voice went weak. I said evenly, "If you need a doctor, go to the doctor." My mom stared at me like I'd become something inhuman.
What is wrong with you?
"What's wrong with me," I said, "is that I've been paying for all of you like it's my job. Starting today, it isn't." Matt took a step toward me, fists clenching. I saw it. His impulse to intimidate, to shove, to put me back in my place. I lifted my phone. "Touch me," I said softly, "and I call 911. On camera." His body froze. Because bullies hate witnesses. My dad sputtered. "You wouldn't call the cops on your own brother." "Watch me," I said. Then I turned away, walked into what used to be my room, and started opening drawers and cabinets like I was investigating a theft. And that's when I found it. In the garage, behind a stack of baby shower gift bags, were 3 black trash bags. They were tied tight, like they were trying to suffocate something. I pulled one open. Inside were my things, my college hoodie, my old yearbooks, the framed photo of me and my best friend at graduation, glass cracked right down my face. A shoebox of letters I'd kept from my grandma, a stack of notebooks. They hadn't thrown them away yet. They'd just bagged them up like garbage, like I was garbage. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to breathe. I set my phone on a shelf so it could see everything. Then I lifted the items one by one and spoke clearly, because I wanted the recording to capture not just my pain, but the facts. "This is mine. This is mine. This is mine." Claire's voice floated in from the kitchen, high and indignant. "Why is she in the garage? She's snooping!" My dad barked back. "Because she's always been nosy." Matt said, "Just let her throw her tantrum and go." I swallowed hard. Then I zipped my suitcase, packed what I could salvage, and walked back through the house without looking at their faces. Because I already knew what I'd see. The same thing I saw my whole childhood. My pain treated like an inconvenience. At the front door, I stopped and turned. All 4 of them stood there, my parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, still on the same side. I felt something hollow in my chest, but also relief. A thin stream of air in a room I've been suffocating in for years. "I'm leaving," I said, "and I'm done paying your bills." My mom lurched forward. "Julia, where will you go?" I almost smiled at the irony. "Somewhere I'm allowed to exist," I said, and I walked out. That night I didn't go to the hotel my mum booked. I checked into a different one across town under my own name, with my own card, and I slept like someone who had finally admitted the truth. Home isn't a place you finance. It's a place you're safe. The next morning, Denise showed up at the house with a photographer and a clipboard. She called me afterwards, voice clipped. "They're furious," she said.
Your dad tried to tell me you can't list because it's a family home. I stared at the bland hotel wall. And you said? Denise snorted. I said, Sir, I don't work for your feelings. I work for the deed. A laugh escaped me, small, disbelieving.
Denise continued. They also tried to follow the photographer around and stand in the kitchen like a happy sitcom family. I told them to move. Thank you, I said, and I meant it more than I'd ever meant thank you to my own family. Denise lowered her voice. Julia, are you safe? That question hit me like a strange kindness. I am now, I said. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and did the part I'd been avoiding for years. I pulled up my bank app. I searched my transfers by my parents' names. I did the math I didn't want to know. Mortgage payments, repairs, appliances, utilities, Matt's emergencies. I'd sent over $68,000 in 3 years. $68,000. Not because I was rich, because I was conditioned. I remembered sitting at my kitchen table in Chicago 2 summers earlier, sweating through a heat wave while my mom called me crying. Matt's car is getting repossessed, she sobbed. Julia, if that happens, it'll ruin him. I said, why isn't Matt handling it? My mom snapped. Because he's stressed. Because you know how men are. Because he has a family now. Like women didn't. Like I wasn't a person, just a support beam. I'd paid it. I remembered wiring money for their new mattress and seeing a photo later of a massive TV mounted above the fireplace. Is that the mattress? I texted Matt once, trying to joke. He replied, LOL, relax. It was on sale. Relax. Always relax. So I called my bank and cancelled the recurring transfers I'd set up for my mom to make it easier. Then I emailed my loan servicer and confirmed the mortgage was in good standing, paid by me, and that no one else had authorization. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I called a lawyer. Her name was Dana Wu, and she specialized in property disputes and harassment cases. She sounded bored in the best way, like my family's drama was just another Tuesday for her. When I explained the lock change and the room conversion, she said, document everything, keep all communication in writing, and do not engage in private arguments without witnesses. I have video, I said. Good, Dana replied, because people like that rely on shame. Paper and cameras remove shame. 2 days later, the house went live on MLS, and my family detonated. My dad left voicemails that sounded like he was chewing glass. You ungrateful little... After everything we did for you, you think you're better than us. My mom called from unknown numbers like a telemarketer. Julia, please answer. Please, just talk to us. Matt texted me threats, dressed as guilt. If you do this, Mom will get sick. Claire could lose the baby. You're destroying the family. You're a selfish city girl now. Claire posted vague quotes about toxic sisters and protecting your peace, and I watched my mom heart them in real time. Then Claire escalated. Because Claire doesn't just want power inside the house. She wants power outside it, too. She posted a longer story, this time with my first name. Julia is selling the family home to punish us while I'm pregnant, she wrote. Our parents are heartbroken. I had complications because of stress. Some people have no conscience. She didn't tag me, but she didn't have to. Small towns are built on names. Within a day, strangers were in my DMs calling me a monster. Within 2 days, someone found my company's Instagram and left comments. Your employee is evil. Ask her why she hates pregnant women.
Hope you get fired. Within 3, someone posted my Chicago neighborhood. Doxing. Threats. The internet's favorite sport. And the worst part? It worked. For a minute. Because the story was easy. Pregnant woman, heartbroken parents, cold sister. People love a villain they can recognize in one scroll. On Friday evening, I got a message from Denise. They're planning to come to Chicago. Your mom called my office asking for your address. I refused. My stomach tightened. My family wasn't done. They weren't used to losing access, so they escalated the only way they knew how, by making me look dangerous and then trying to surround me. Saturday morning, I walked into my office building downtown, and the security guard at the front desk stopped me. "Julia?" he asked gently. My heart dropped. "Yeah?" He nodded toward the side entrance. "You have visitors." I stepped around the corner, and there they were, my parents, Matt, Claire, in Chicago, in my work lobby. Claire had her hand on her belly like it was a badge. My mom was already crying. My dad had that hard stare that usually made me fold. For 1 second, my body did what it always did, prepared to apologize just to end the scene. Then I remembered my lock, my trash bags, my erased room. I stopped. The security guard shifted closer, sensing the tension. My mom rushed toward me. "Julia, honey." I held up a hand. "Do not touch me." Matt scoffed loudly for the lobby. "Oh my God, she's acting like we're strangers." Claire's voice pitched higher. "Julia, you're doing this to punish us. You're trying to stress me out. Why do you hate me?" My dad stepped forward like he was going to corner me. "You're coming home with us. We're not doing this in public." The security guard took another step. "Ma'am, do you want them removed?" My mom's face snapped toward him, offended. "Removed? We're her parents." The guard didn't flinch. "This is a private building." I looked at my family and said clearly, loud enough for the lobby to hear, "I asked you not to come here. This is harassment. Leave." My mom gasped. "Harassment? Julia, what is wrong with you?" What was wrong with me was that my life had been treated like community property. I turned to the security guard. "Yes," I said. "Remove them." The shock on my dad's face was almost comical, like he couldn't believe the world had rules. "You can't do that," Matt spat. The guard's radio crackled. 2 more guards appeared. Claire suddenly got very delicate. "I'm pregnant. You can't push me." One guard said calmly, "Ma'am, we're escorting you out. Nobody is touching you unless you refuse to walk." My mom started wailing, real wailing, loud enough to turn heads. "My daughter is doing this to me." I stood there with my badge still clipped to my jacket and felt something strange. Not guilt. Clarity. Because this was the truth. My family didn't show up to talk. They showed up to perform. So I let them get escorted out like the trespassers they were. After they left, I went straight to my boss and HR, explained the situation, and handed over my documentation. And then, because Dana Wu doesn't play, I filed a report for harassment and doxing. I wasn't trying to get my family arrested. I was trying to build a wall they couldn't climb. That's when the live stream happened. Claire, furious that she couldn't corner me privately, did the only thing she knew how to do: make it public. Saturday evening, I got a notification from a platform I barely used, TikTok Live. A clip had already been reposted to Instagram. Claire's face filled the screen, eyes glossy, hand on belly. My mom sat beside her crying softly. My dad stared at the camera like a wounded saint. Matt paced behind them like a bodyguard. Thousands of viewers. Hundreds of comments per second. Evil! Expose her! She should be disowned. Claire's voice shook perfectly. We never asked Julia for anything. She offered. She insisted. And now she's using it against us. She's trying to throw her own parents out. What kind of daughter does that? My mom sobbed. I just want my daughter back. Matt leaned toward the camera and said, If she shows up in town, she'll have consequences. Consequences? On a public live stream? My hands went cold. I took a screenshot, then another. Then I screen recorded the whole thing. Dana had warned me. People like my family love private threats. But sometimes they get bold and do it publicly. That boldness was my opening. I didn't cry. I didn't post a vague quote. I called Dana. Then I called the platform's trust and safety team, using a contact my company's comms department had. One benefit of working in a world where reputations are currency. By midnight, Dana and I had a plan. We weren't going to play defense. We were going to show receipts. On Sunday evening, when Claire went live again, because she was addicted to the attention, we requested to join as a guest. The platform allowed it. And suddenly my face appeared on half the screen. No filter, no tears. Just me, sitting at my kitchen table in Chicago, a thick folder beside my laptop, my phone set up like a witness. Claire's mouth fell open. My mom gasped like I'd invaded their home. The comment feed exploded. OMG, it's her! Look at her smug. Say sorry! Claire found her voice first. Julia, she whispered, shaking. Why are you doing this? Why are you attacking a pregnant woman? I leaned forward slightly and looked straight into the camera. Hi, I said. My name is Julia Hartman. I own the house you're standing in. The comments sped up. Matt leaned in, eyes hard. You're lying. I didn't argue. I held up my phone and played a clip. The video I recorded in the hallway, the closet room, Claire's voice. You can get a hotel. This is our newlywed house. My mom's voice. Apologize. Right now. Matt's voice. It was sitting there unused. My dad's voice. In this house. The feed went quieter for half a second, the way a crowd does when the illusion cracks. Claire's eyes darted. That's out of context, she snapped. Okay, I said calmly. Let's add context. I shared my screen. APDF, the deed, owner, Julia Hartman. I zoomed in so even the viewers could read it. Then I opened another tab. Bank statements. Wire transfer for the down payment. Monthly mortgage payments from my account. Then I opened a spreadsheet I'd built for myself years ago, without realizing it would become armor. Date, amount, memo, recipient. Here's the part no one in this live seems to mention, I said, voice steady. I didn't offer. I was asked, for years, because I was the daughter who could pay. My mom started crying harder, but now it sounded sharper. Julia, she pleaded, why are you humiliating us? I looked at her on screen. Because you humiliated me in private for years, I said. And I'm done being quiet so you can look good. Matt's voice rose. You're doing this for attention. I almost smiled. No, I said. I'm doing this because you threatened me with consequences on a public live stream. I played the screen recording of him saying it. Then I looked at him. Say it again, I said. But say it knowing your lawyer might be watching. Matt's face changed. Not guilt. Calculation. Claire tried to pivot. Julia, I'm pregnant. You know stress can... I cut in.
Still calm, but my voice sharpened like a blade. "Claire," I said, "your pregnancy isn't a magic wand that turns theft into kindness. You changed my lock. You took my room. You told me to leave. So here are your options. Move out on your own timeline, or move out on the timeline my realtor gives you." The comment feed erupted again, but the tone had shifted. "Wait, she owns it? Why did they change the lock? That's insane. She paid everything?" My dad finally spoke, voice low, trying to regain control.
"Julia," he said, "family doesn't do this." I stared at him and said the line that had been waiting in my chest for years. Family doesn't change the locks on the person keeping the lights on. Silence. Even through a screen, I felt it. Then I held up a screenshot of Claire's original post about a grown woman moving back in. "This is why this is happening," I said. "Because someone decided to write a story about me first. So I'm writing mine now, with evidence." Dana's voice came through my earpiece. She was on a call with me, off camera, listening. "Julia," she murmured, "you've established ownership, documentation, and harassment. Wrap it." I nodded. I looked into the camera one last time. "Internet," I said, "you can have opinions, but you can't have lies. I have retained legal counsel. Anyone who continues to spread false claims, miscarriage rumors, abuse rumors, doxing my address, will be identified and pursued. Platforms are not lawless." Then I turned my eyes to Claire. "And Claire," I said, "since you like boundaries, here's mine. You don't speak my name online again." Claire looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under her. My mom's mouth opened and closed like she couldn't find a guilt sentence strong enough. Matt stared at the camera like he wanted to punch it. I ended my guest segment. The live kept going without me, but the magic was gone. Because once receipts enter a story, drama stops being entertainment and starts being evidence. Within an hour, Claire's live was taken down for harassment. Within a day, the narrative flipped. People who'd called me a monster started commenting, "I'm sorry," like apologies were coupons. Local news even picked it up as a human interest story. Small headline, big humiliation. Denise called me, voice half amused, half sympathetic. "Offers are coming in," she said. "Multiple." "Good," I replied. Then she paused. "Your family wants to buy it." I closed my eyes. Of course they did. They couldn't stand the shame of being forced out. They couldn't stand the idea of a stranger living in their house. So they did what entitled people do when they're cornered. They tried to pay their way out. They offered above asking, a bribe dressed as a plea. Denise asked me carefully, "Do you want to accept?" Emotionally, I mean. I stared at the ceiling of my apartment and thought about the hallway, the closet, the lock refusing my thumb. I thought about my mom hearting a post about changing the locks on me, and I realized something I didn't expect. I didn't feel vengeful. I felt empty, like a well that had been drained and finally admitted it had no more water. "Accept," I said. A week later, I signed the papers. I watched the sale close like a surgical procedure, clean, detached, precise. The mortgage was paid off. The remainder hit my account. Not an insane amount, but enough to represent one truth. I had been financing people who wouldn't even save me a bed. When the sale was final, Dana emailed me a short note. "They're out of legal arguments. Block all new attempts. If they show up, call police. You're free." Free. It's a small word that feels huge when you've never been allowed to use it. I used part of the money to put a down payment on a small condo in Chicago. 1 bedroom, big windows, a view of brick buildings and city lights. Nothing fancy, just mine. The day I got the keys, I stood in the hallway outside my new door with my hand on the knob, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Permission. I opened the door, stepped inside, and listened to the quiet. No family voices, no guilt, no rules I didn't agree to, just the sound of my own breathing. I set my keys on the counter and laughed softly, because it felt ridiculous that a doorknob could make me emotional. Then I walked through the rooms. I touched the walls. I opened the closet and saw empty shelves. Empty in the best way, like a blank page. That night I ordered takeout, sat on the floor because I didn't have furniture yet, and watched the city lights blink on like a promise. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Message. Julia, please. We need you. Your father can't sleep. Your mother is sick with worry. Don't let the baby suffer. I stared at the screen. I could feel the old instinct to respond, to soothe, to fix. Then I did the most radical thing I've ever done in my life. I deleted it. Then I blocked the number. Over the next few weeks, more numbers appeared. Different area codes, different phrasing, same hook. Save us. Come back. Be the good daughter. I blocked them all. Not because I hated them, because I finally loved myself more than I feared their disappointment. Months passed. The viral storm moved on, as it always does. New villains, new heroes, new outrage. But real life doesn't refresh that easily. One afternoon in June, Denise called me again. Her voice was softer than usual. Julia, she said, I heard something from a friend in town. My stomach tightened. What? She hesitated. Your brother was in an accident. I sat down slowly on my couch. What kind of accident? Car, she said. He was driving too fast. People said he'd been stressed. Money. Debt. Of course, because buying the house back didn't magically give them the ability to afford it. It just gave them the illusion of winning. Denise continued. He's alive, but he's hurt. And your parents are in deep financial trouble. Claire moved out. They're separating. I closed my eyes. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt distance. Like hearing about a storm in a state you no longer live in. Thanks for telling me, I said quietly. After we hung up, I sat in my living room and watched the sunlight move across my floor. And I understood something that took me almost 30 years to accept. My family wasn't a home. It was a hole. A place you could pour everything into and still be told you weren't giving enough. When you leave a hole, you don't celebrate. You just breathe because you're not falling anymore. That night, I stood by my window and watched Chicago turn gold, then blue, then black. I thought about the little girl I used to be. The one who tried so hard to be useful because usefulness was the closest thing to love she could earn. And I made her a promise. I whispered it into the quiet like an oath. No one gets to lock me out of my own life again. I don't need a family home where people can tell me I'm a guest. I have a home that belongs to me, and from now on, I will live like I do.